Bad relationship advice. He wasn't really tactile with me when I was 6, 7, 8, so I just don't like to be bro, deal with your problems, man. How are you 50 saying when I was 7 my mum never cuddled me, so I don't like to be cuddled?
Cuddles are so great. Bad relationship advice.
I don't care which sheikh, which imam, what he's saying, listen, he's cheating on you, just forgive him, get out of the relationship. Bad relationship advice.
That stresses me out, like to dabble into having control over other people's situations.
This is Pakistani cultural things through and through.
Bad relationship advice.
I might be able to sweet up your dad, but I bet you I can't sweet up your brother. Let me sit down with a guy for 5-10 minutes, I'll tell you exactly what the guy's about. Bad relationship advice. When it's you in a situation and it's you getting divorced in 2 years, are your parents going to say, oh, it was my fault, I'll stitch you up and I'll get you remarried and I'll get you...
No, it's going to be your fault.
It's going to be your fault. Just stop it. Stop it now.
Stupid.
Assalamu alaikum guys, what's going on? We are the X's and welcome back to the channel. This advice is ruining your relationship.
And if you're single, it's ruining your future relationship before it's even started.
Preach, sister.
I am very happy to be here.
So we've all got those family members, those friends, those social media personalities, a lot of opinions who are giving us relationship advice. You should do this, you shouldn't do that, yada, 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 yada. And look, being honest with you, it's bad relationship advice.
Usually it's people that you would never want in their marriage as well.
Oh, hell no.
But then again, would you give yourself bad relationship advice when you were single?
Yeah.
So would I. I'm not throwing shade at single people, or am I? So today we're going to discuss some of the bad relationship advice that we have received or picked up or heard along the way. There'll be some of them from some people you do recognize from the internet, social media personalities. YouTube. So let's get into it.
Cool.
Talk about your relationship problems with family and friends. Get some input so that you have a better grasp on things. Bad relationship advice. That is bad relationship advice. It's not good. Do you reckon that's bad?
I feel guilty because I have definitely done that. I've definitely talked to my family about like relationship, especially early on in the marriage. Yeah. But it is that thing that I had to learn the hard way, because it's that thing of like, you will come to a solution together. But then once it's sorted, you can't be bothered going back to your family and talking through the steps of how you sorted it. So they're just left with the bad taste in their mouth of the bad thing that happened.
Right. Right. Yeah. Not saying that you shouldn't take advice from people in certain circumstances, but if you're going to your family all the time and you're just telling them the negatives, oh, it's like this, it's like this, it's like this, and the negatives stick in your head more than the positives. And then who said that that person that's giving you advice is more clued up on what advice to give you than you are, or than your partner?
They don't know your partner as well as you do, so they don't know the motivation that your partner had, or, do you know what I mean?
So I say, keep your little private problems personal. Yeah, that's a bad relationship advice. But if it's crazy for a long period of time and you're seeing this chink, 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 sometimes it can be a pattern and can lead to something bigger. But no, don't go and air your dirty laundry everywhere. Don't do that.
That's the fear though, isn't it? That something so dysfunctional is happening and you don't want to be that dumb girl that's like in a bad relationship and never telling anybody, and then one day you're like, oh my god, you're getting abused. It has to be something that's actually worth saying and important to say, and little things along the way, don't, because they'll remember it and you'll forget it by the next day. The other thing as well is like, you kiss and make up when you're married. You don't go to your family and say, oh, we kissed and made up. So then
no, you don't, innit?
So you don't talk about how you made
up.
Why
don't you wait until the problem's resolved before you go and start telling people, like, oh, it's like this, it's like this, it's like this. Protect your marriage. That's bad relationship advice.
Your relationship just isn't working. You need to add some spice. You know what you should do? Have a baby. Have a baby. Bad relationship advice.
Bad relationship advice. That is terrible relationship advice.
Have you ever heard that in real life?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
That is so bad. There are people walking around that say that to people.
Listen, you got hella problems in your relationship. You're dysfunctional. Well, it depends what kind of state the marriage is at. Or the relationship is at.
But anyway, unless it's in a great place, why would you ever?
I'll tell you what you should do. The guy's not giving you enough time, you know, he's not really romantic. You think his eyes are wandering.
That'll get him serious. Have a baby. I've heard that. Yeah, that'll get him serious and motivated.
Give him some responsibility.
Oh my gosh.
Pop a baby out, you know? Do you know what? Likelihood is you're going to be doing all of the same things with a baby and he's still going to be a deadbeat.
Single mother.
And just because there's a baby in a relationship, men love their baby, but don't love their wife. You know what I mean? Just okay, I've got a kid and I love my kid, but you still bore me. You still do my head in. If anything, you've had a baby now and he loves the baby and you're about 3 stone heavier than you were before.
Why did you choose the exact number that I went up with?
You're a bit hormonal and you're a bit down and you're trying to breastfeed. You got all this baby stuff.
You got
all this baby blues and things going like that. And you're like, that'll fix your relationship. No, it won't.
Terrible advice.
Terrible advice. Traumatize your children. Great advice.
Only thing worse than being in a bad relationship is having a baby in your bad relationship.
In your bad relationship, right?
So sad.
I know. Bad relationship advice. You don't seem too happy, bro. If your wife ain't cutting it, you know what you can do? Just get a second wife.
I beg you tell me who said those words to you, Sufyan.
The voice inside me said it.
I beg you tell me.
Little Sufyan shouted it up to big Sufyan. Bad relationship advice. Bad relationship advice. Listen, regardless of what your views are on multiple marriages and having more than one wife, this is not a good idea. This is not a good idea. Okay?
Sound like the sheikhs online.
Firstly, the second wife possibly could bring you some source of joy, yeah? But that ain't going to fix your first marriage.
No.
That's going to ruin your first marriage, okay? And look, it depends what you believe in, innit? If you think that's acceptable...
You've not got the skills to pull off your first marriage.
What makes you think the second one? Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, we don't do second wives anyway, right?
Right. I don't think. I've said this many times before. I don't think in today's world that the ruling is applicable. Okay, It's definitely not applicable to me. We can talk about it another time because that's a whole nother topic, isn't it?
This is advice that I actually believed in. Argue in front of your kids because it teaches them conflict resolution. And when I heard that from dear Jordan Peterson.
And so what you want to do is model for your children the fact that there's going to be conflict about very important and difficult issues. That conflict is actually going to produce a fair bit of emotion, some of which might be negative and even rather intense, but that those things can be negotiated through and the relationship can come back together.
I thought, that sounds so great. Like, that's true. How's a kid going to grow up knowing how to deal with things and recover things
if it's not modeled to them,
unless they see it breaking, you know? Then I told Sufyan, when we have kids, we should argue in front of them, you know? Sufyan was like, what
kind of nonsense is that?
If I said that to you now, what would you say?
I'd say that Islamically you shouldn't argue at all. The people that think that a relationship, you're gonna argue at some point. If you think that you can't argue, then you're living in actually no, the ideal relationship, you do not argue. Disagree. Yeah, I want to do this. I want to do that. Okay, you get a bit stressed out. I'm not an emotional person like that. Yeah, I'm not going to say, oh, no, but you did it. What is arguing? So do you want to have a disagreement that you want to do this and you want to do that? Okay, well, now what I'm going to do, because I've not got any emotional resilience, I'm going to do that disagreement in front of the children, which has to happen because what? No. And then actually what I'll do then, this is a stupid thing about this, talking about, okay, well, you have to model conflict resolution. What Jordan Peterson actually said is, it's not necessarily argue in front of them, but model conflict resolution. So let's say that we just, because of our emotional makeup, we didn't, we weren't able to have this disagreement privately. So we had it publicly in front of the children. But now because we've had this public disagreement, we have to go back in front of the children and model, not just model that, oh, we're okay now. Because if you think about growing up, your parents will have arguments and then maybe next second they're okay again.
Yeah.
And you don't know what happened. You just know that it was a big fight and now they're cuddling.
Probably had a little kiss and cuddle privately.
Maybe they did. No,
do you know what I mean?
No, but maybe they did. So let's say, okay, so now what you're going to do is, okay, well, because we argued in front of the kids, now we have to model the conflict resolution. So let's sit down in front of the kids and say, listen,
Mommy, you really hurt my feelings.
Do you know what I mean? And I just think that it was, let's say that, I don't know, let's say I came home and I just let you do all of the washing and I was meant to help today or something like that, yeah? And I said, look, do you know what? You were right. When I come home tomorrow, I should help you with the washing. Yes, Sufyan. Well, what kind of, what? You see your parents
That's a real
doing
thing though. In movies, I've seen people do that. I've seen people like sit down with a talking stick and be like, this is how I feel in front of the children. I think that's something that people really do.
Listen, when you're growing up, your parents are these like untouchable models. They're things. And then when you get older, you realize actually they're just human. Yeah. That kind of status that the parents have.
Yeah.
That is easily diminished, firstly, by you arguing in front of them anyway. And secondly, by you coming back and saying, okay, well, I thought this and you thought, and you'd be like, okay, they're good because they talk about it afterwards, but why am I privy to that conversation?
So what's the time or age or method in which you think that parents should be brought down from that thing? Or you think it should just happen naturally when...
No, I think that obviously it's not going to happen all the time, but I think parents should do their best to... not just say, okay, look, we're human beings. We're going to get angry sometimes. Sometimes we're going to argue in front of the kids. Sometimes we're going to blah, blah, blah. I think they should do their best to say, look, this is the kind of parents we want to be. And this is how we want to raise the children. And we're not going to do this. We're not going to argue in front of the kids. So then when they do grow older, depending on the kind of conversations you're having with your children as well, when they do grow older, would you not say, listen, do you know the one thing I never saw my parents do? They never shouted at each other.
Yeah,
they never cussed each other. Yeah. They modeled how to be in a relationship without conflict and sometimes they looked like they were disagreeing on things, but they were always on the same page, and they did disagree on, but we knew that they resolved it amongst themselves, basically. Yeah. And then you can model conflict resolution to them in other manners instead of saying, okay, well, watch your dysfunctional parents, and I'm gonna. That doesn't make any sense.
My opinion is, I think there's definitely a place for teaching your children conflict resolution, but it shouldn't be between the relationship between the mother and father.
You don't need to model it with yourself.
No, but because there's so many problems in society that come from the fact that mums and dads are breaking up or fighting, or children are not raised in a happy home, children are not raised feeling safe. So why risk the child being raised not feeling safe because they think you're just trying to model it and help them, but actually you're making them not feel safe and not feel happy.
Right.
So why not just let them be grown, feeling safe and happy and protected, and like their parents don't fight and their parents are very sweet to each other and very good to each other and kind. Then when they have friends and they're older and they're like, oh my God, I had an argument, I don't know how to deal with it. Let them come to you and talk to them about what you do.
Right.
Or like, do you know what I mean? Yeah. It doesn't have to be between the relationship between yourself, because I think that parental relationship is the most important relationship in the house.
And it's a bit, it's sacred in a sense.
It's sacred, but it's the foundation of the family. So why test out and model basically anarchy on that thing that is the base of, like, let the child grow up feeling safe and then teach them things in other ways, not between each other.
100% beautifully said, Amara.
Thanks, I try, you know.
Yeah. And
parents argue about grown-up things. You're having a grown-up argument or disagreement about something, that is not a place for a child to watch. But also, like, say it's something like you're like, oh, what toppings we're gonna have on our pizza, and you're like, I want this, and then you say, I want this. That's enough for a child to comprehend, and they'll learn how you share opinions and disagree.
I'm gonna get the lawyers involved. No, you did this. Don't you know?
It doesn't have
10
to be
years
beyond
ago,
that.
you did this, and you've always been like that.
There'll be normal like opinions in family life, like what we're having for dinner and stuff, that kids can learn. Okay, this is how you agree and disagree. You don't have to have full on adult
100%
arguments in front of them. Yeah.
Jordan Peterson,
you wrong, bro.
You wrong, my brother.
You wrong.
You wrong, Mr. Man. You know I took the brother away, right?
Take a love language quiz to see who your compatible soulmate is. Listen, when I was searching for a spouse, I didn't say when I was talking to somebody, take the quiz, but did I ask them what their love language was? I might have at some points, you know, until I met Sufyan.
You said to me,
and you laughed at me.
Of course I laughed at you. You said to me, what is your love language? And I'd never heard of that concept.
And you said, what?
You know I don't speak Spanish. In English, please.
Are you positive words of affirmation? Are you touch? Do you like gifts? Do you like gesture? I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? I said, well,
all of them.
All of them, innit? I said, firstly,
and then I was like, oh.
Yeah.
I was like,
whatever you're saying sounds like spectrum oriented. That you need to write down. What is your love language?
Yeah, but you thought I was such a weirdo, but you don't understand. It's a really common thing to talk about and think about.
I understand people are different. Like, for instance, I'm sure my dad doesn't mind. My dad's not really a tactile person. He's not I love you, come here and kiss you.
He's such a great hugger.
No,
he's such a great hugger.
But he's not really, obviously coming from a Jamaican upbringing. Jamaicans in the comments, let us know, did your mum and dad like hug you and kiss you a lot? So I don't think my dad received a lot of hugs and kisses and things like when he was young. So then he's not really like that at this age. He can, but it's not his normal thing. So I guess his love language isn't physical touch, it's more.
What is his love language?
Probably verbal.
Haha, see, you agree with it.
No,
they're a thing.
No, that's what it is. But I think that somebody who, I think when you get into a relationship, that's why I think it's a stupid question. It's not like, what is your love language? It's like, okay, I should be fitting all of 5 of these things. I need to be an all-rounder here. Yeah. And if you're like, oh, do you know what? Imagine in a relationship tomorrow and you're like, you want to be hugged and told that you're beautiful, but I'm just not like that.
Yeah.
So my love language is I'm gonna give you gifts. Is that gonna suffice?
It's like a thing where there's a label for everything, and then you're kind of only held to that label that you are. You kind of accepted that, oh, these are your limits because of this label that you have. So it's like if that is your decided love language, these limits are what you have basically. And you're right. Like a relationship, you do all those things. You give gifts. You give like sweet words. You give touch.
You do all of the things, right?
Yeah.
Right. And if you're somebody that doesn't like to be told,
unless you have a real disorder or something like that.
No. Well, that's the thing. The people who have specific love language, I don't like to be touched. You have some trauma. You have some deep underlying issues which exist in your childhood. And let's say it's nothing like abuse oriented. Yeah, let's just say it's, I don't know, maybe your dad wasn't
cultural.
Yeah, let's say it's cultural. Maybe your dad shouted at you sometimes and you just feel a bit insecure about men, or
Yeah.
let's say it's nothing major. Yeah.
Yeah.
Resolve your issues, bro.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, don't let that
Work-
label stay with you
No,
for the rest of your
actually,
life.
no.
That I don't like touch.
I think it's so ridiculous, yeah. I understand what trauma is. I understand people go through things as children. I think it's so ridiculous that, and bear in mind that we work in the mental health child sector, so we know how these things go, but it's ridiculous that a grown adult, 40, 50, 60 years old, whatever you want to call them, yeah, something happened to me when I was 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and you do have specific zones in your childhood where your developmental things, you've missed the gap and you can't get it back. But let's say, look, my dad was he wasn't really tactile with me when I was 6, 7, 8, so I just don't like to be bro, deal with your problems, man. How are you 50 saying, oh, well,
Yeah,
when
you
I
can't
was
let that chase you for the
when
rest
I
of
was
your life.
7, my mum never cuddled me, so I don't like to be cuddled. Well, why don't you change that instead of letting
Cuddles
other
are
people
great.
determine what you're like as a person?
Cuddles are so great.
Yeah, I think that's ridiculous. I think take ownership of who you are.
Yeah.
And it's okay if you're like that for now. You want to say, this is what I'm like for now. When you get into a relationship, start broadening your horizons, yeah? Start developing as a person and saying, I want to be an all-rounder, just not only for my wife or for my husband, but for my children, so I can model to them that this is how you be as a person.
Yeah.
And that's in accordance with Islam as well.
Yeah.
I think that's ridiculous.
Forgive your man if he cheats. It's okay. You took vows. Marriage is forever. Divorce is not an option, basically.
You done lost your damn mind.
That's so bad.
Bad relationship advice. Right. Look, you know who this comes from, right?
You will be with that man whatever happens the rest of your life.
Yes, the vows that we're supposed to live
How do you
by.
know you can keep them?
Women are so willing to leave marriages because they're not happy. This is not about happiness. The most important thing is the children. We have a modern society where it's me, my feelings, leave when I feel like it, instead of doing what's best for the kids.
This is the conversation of high value men, right? And look, I've got this. It nags me and irritates me so much, right? Unfortunately, the conversation and all of the data, you know, women between 25 and 30 and all these high value men who is a high value man outside of Islam a high value man in Islam?
No.
It's a totally different thing. It's the data and the stats and the statistics that apply to the general West. Where do you think they get their stats from? From universities, and they go to like the state of Texas and ask people in Texas or something like that. Yeah. Do we apply? Do those stats apply to us?
No.
They don't apply to us, right? So firstly, this conversation was regarding high value men. Firstly, cheating is haram anyway. But if you get a man that's earning over a certain amount of money, then obviously he's used to a lavish lifestyle and he's used to the attention of women. So if you're trying to get them big bucks, them $1 million men, yeah,
You have to accept that he's going to want to do some stuff.
that's going to come with some things.
That's crazy.
If you want to be looked after in that way, then do you know what I mean?
I think that's low self-esteem. I
course
think
it's low
that's
self-esteem.
Like, no, but I think that's like for somebody to say that, you have to have very low self-worth to think that I am not worth loyalty, basically. Like, that, do you know what I mean? That when that happens, he is so much more valuable than me that I should just take it. And that is weird, isn't it? Because that means that money is the value then. Yeah, that's crazy.
She also said, sorry, in this one, if she had a baby, then she'd stay. Some people,
That's so sad.
you know what? Well, that's because she thinks that the child being in a 2-parent upbringing is more valuable than her feelings at the time. Listen, it is definitely important for the child to be in a 2-parent upbringing, but unfortunately, at this point, something has been violated,
Yeah.
and this child is going to grow up with a broken mother who's been violated and abused, and grow up and say, look, at the end of the day, my mother didn't have a backbone, yeah, or mirror the behaviors and model the behaviors that was being exhibited to her, or possibly go for the type of guy that her dad was to her mum. That doesn't.
But that ties into another piece of bad relationship advice.
Yeah.
Bad relationship advice, which is put your kids first always. Like, no matter what happens, put the kids first. As in, whatever suits them better is what should happen for the family unit.
No, it shouldn't. Okay, let's say Allah will reward you for whichever one you choose.
Yeah.
If you chose to stay in this relationship for the children, there's reward, there's barakah in it for you. If you chose to leave the relationship for yourself and not for them to be around, then there's barakah in it for you.
Yeah.
You understand? But in Islam, it is haram to be oppressed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's haram to stand there while somebody's being oppressed.
So sad.
It's haram to oppress people, and it's haram to allow yourself to be oppressed. You have to do something about it. If you can't stand up and physically do something about it, then you say something about it. And if you can't say something about it, then you just condemn it in your heart.
You've got protest in different levels.
So you're just meant to stay in that relationship. If the man violates you and he cheats, go. I don't care which sheikh, which imam, what he's saying, listen, he's cheating on you, just forgive him. Get out of the relationship.
What I've heard imams say is there's different levels of cheating. They said, is it a text message? Is it a emotional cheating thing where they're just talking to each other, or is it physical cheating? And I disagree with that. I think cheating in general is a breach of trust and breaking of trust. So I've heard imams say, I know you're going to disagree though, but I've heard imams say if it's texting and stuff, they haven't physically broken the marriage kind of thing. So they've just emotionally broken it. But either way, as a wife and as a woman, I would feel like the trust has been broken. So what is the level that you're
I wouldn't say to pack your bags and run if you found he was texting someone from work. I think that's up to you. I think if he has physically cheated with someone, if he's meeting someone behind your back, if he's those things like that, you can't tell what's happened in that situation.
But don't you think the trust is broken?
It depends, innit? It depends what you're going to put up with, innit? But for this sake of argument, the cheating means sexual contact, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Leave the relationship, bro. Leave the relationship because all you're gonna do is carry all these. Unless you are the most forgiving person in the world, you ain't gonna carry around this trauma and 20 years down the line bring it up. You act like being in a 2-parent household is more healthy than being a single person that doesn't. Being in a 1-parent household where they just split the parental duties, but they're not. What's not modeled to them is dysfunctional relationships, or people with trauma, or people accepting things, or people being violated, or people being abusive. That is worse.
Well, there's an L that's going to happen either way.
There is an L that's going to happen.
But I will say though, like I'm so bold to say, I would never accept this, and I would never like
you never,
my
listen, you never
but
know
you don't know what you do in a
you
situation. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like there might be people out there that are like, oh, I have taken my husband back, and to be honest, like, and if I was put in the situation, maybe I wouldn't do what I say.
Maybe you wouldn't.
You'd be a dirty dog though.
Of course you'd be a dirty dog. I would say the advice to anybody from me would be leaving it.
Yeah.
I understand people don't have support structures to go to. I would say just leave and Allah will look after you. Get out of that relationship. The guy's violated you. Ask Allah to give you something good and leave. That'll be my advice.
Very, very rare cases where you could be okay after.
But if you are watching this video and you are deciding that you're going to take up that advice, talk to me first. Email us or something like that so we can have a discussion.
Sufyan like, leave. Everybody packs a bag.
But ask me first.
Sufyan said I could leave.
Yeah, that's horrible. That's disgusting.
So stressful, man. He practices. He seems nice. If he's not your type, it's okay. You have to compromise. Just marry him.
Right, I've never received this kind of advice.
I have received this.
Okay.
And that's why we're married now. I have received. When I was looking for a spouse, none of them felt right. And there was always something that I was like, I just don't vibe with that thing. And I was told by somebody very close to me, I'm not going to out who it was, you're going to have to compromise with something. You just marry them. Like, whoever you marry, you're going to have to compromise on something or there might be something that makes you feel weird and just marry them. And it did not sit well with me, and it felt so uncomfortable. I literally thought to myself, is that what everybody out there is doing?
I think okay, right. There are two sides to this argument. Okay, why are you getting married?
Yeah.
What is the motivation to you getting married, and what is marriage to you? So now in this modern world, marriage is love, isn't it? You have to, someone's going to love you and they're going to do this, and you kind of, there's a romantic aspect to the relationship. Maybe if you go and take it back to earlier times, there's more of a duty aspect.
Yes.
Right? So you're getting married for duty, you're getting married because you need to procreate. Logistically, it's better for you. You know, you go into the household and you do this and you do this, and you'll fall in love along the way.
Or joining tribes together.
Or joining tribes, or for a marriage of convenience, or of the relationship between like royals and stuff like families. That. Yeah. So we're talking in love times right now. I think this is the thing that people get confused with when they're saying, okay, well, why did he marry her? Everyone's just viewing it through one scope. Yeah. So people get married for different reasons. Okay. In the love aspect of things, no, don't compromise. Now me, I didn't compromise, and I would never. Alhamdulillah, Allah made it this way for me. I could have been put in a different situation. Yeah. I did not compromise. I wanted a wife. I had a massive checklist. And I wasn't like, okay, but she has to have green eyes or something like that. I wasn't being stupid with it. Although if I did want someone with green eyes, I'm sure Allah would have brought that person to my path, but I was not going to compromise anything. Because if I was to compromise on those things, not that I couldn't fall in love with you. I don't want my eye to gaze. I don't want to be like you who
you
buys.
You don't be left wanting, you know.
Yeah, I don't want you be like you who goes and ASOS and buys the clothes and then checks again to see are they still cheaper. I could have got a better deal this time round. Goes and exchanges the clothes and gets some new clothes.
Yeah, I have to get the deal.
Yeah.
I have to get the best.
Okay,
the best deal
the best deal for you is to get all of your boxes ticked. And I think the people that are giving, I'm not speaking about anyone personal to you, I think the people that are saying just compromise, what they're doing is they're worrying themselves.
Yeah.
They are projecting their own worry about their daughters getting married and thinking, oh, maybe she won't. So I think the people that are advising their children to do this are not thinking about their children, basically. Because you would never advise anybody just compromise and get married. And in today's world, you're just advising a 21-year-old or just advising some young person to just compromise whatever they want to do and go and get married. That is not going to, unless Allah just showers his blessings down upon it. It's okay, well, look, he's a doctor, so just marry him. He comes from a good family, you know, he seems nice. Okay, yeah, but I don't feel attracted to him. And when he's talking to me, he's saying some weird things.
And it's so personal what you can tolerate and what you can't. And only you, like, when you speak privately with somebody, that's when you see the real them. As in, your parents do not see the side of the people you talk to.
They see the version that they want to show to the parents. Look, we know situations where a girl was speaking to a guy and the parents thought he was amazing because he was a practicing boy.
Put a lot of pressure on her to actually marry him.
From a Muslim family and practicing sheikh. His dad was an imam, or he's Hafiz of Quran as well. The guy was a creep.
Yeah.
The guy was a creep. And the guy had some weird viewpoints, about, oh, well, you do this and you do this and talking about bodies and I expect this from my wife and rah. The guy was a weirdo. Yeah. He came to me, he said, should you get with him? I said, no, do not marry that person. Yeah. Do not pass go. Let me vet the guy.
That is not a compromise.
Yeah. Let me vet the guy. I'll tell you, let me sit down with the guy for 5-10 minutes. I'll tell you exactly what the guy's about. I'm not saying don't listen to your parents, but unfortunately, a lot of the time, your parents are just not clued up in today's world. Yeah. They're talking about an old version of marriage, which their parents model to them, and these same values, like traditional cultural values, which are just not applicable now.
I think a lot of parents as well, because of the gap of age and stuff and the gap in times, they don't know how to vet people these days. It's a different, like, people can pass the vetting process because it's not tailored to people these days at all.
And there is a thing in Islam, if I want to marry you, I need to go and chat to your dad. Yeah. I might be able to sweet up your dad, but I bet you I can't sweet up your brother. Yeah. Yeah. People might be able to come and sweet up my dad, but he cannot sweet up me. It's a fact. It's a fact. Alhamdulillah, I happen to be young enough to be able to see through the BS, and I've been around these certain type of people, and I've also been a type of man where I can think in a certain way. Yeah. These guys are like 20 years past whatever's happening right now. Yeah. It's not that they're old and they weren't kids once upon a time, but the world that we're living in now is different. Yeah. Your parents are out of touch. And they're advising you to get into a situation which is most likely going to lead to divorce. And you know what? When they're encouraging you to go into this situation and saying, "No, you just compromise," when it's you in the situation and it's you getting divorced in 2 years, are your parents going to say, "Oh, it was my fault"? No. I'm going to take you in the home and say, "I'll stitch you up and I'll get you remarried and I'll get you."
No, it's going to be your fault.
It's going to be your fault.
Yeah.
So don't. Okay, parents, I'm very respectful. I'm sorry. Just think about the advice that you give. And then it's like ranting at parents. I can't do that. Please forgive me. Let's be a bit mindful of what we are advising our children to do, and we're just saying compromise. Let's have a better vetting process than you thinking that the person's okay and advising them to compromise on something which you wouldn't compromise on, and neither would I.
And it's just that thing of, even if the parent would compromise on that quality, if the kid is the one that's going to be married to the person, and if they can't compromise on that, then don't force them to, because they're going to be married to it every single day around that person 24/7. Like,
a lot of these people in the relationships compromised, and the relationship is not healthy, because they compromise, because you overlooked those red flags earlier.
You're still looking
those behavior patterns earlier. Now they've like manifested into real complex things which you can't function through anymore, and you're advising your daughters and sons to make the same mistakes. Come on, it's bad relationship advice.
Bad.
Stop it. Just stop it. Stop it now.
Stupid. You know him better than he knows himself, so make decisions for him. Great advice.
That's bad relationship advice. Don't think for me. Let me just say, don't think for me. Yeah.
Sufyan doesn't like that.
Do not make a decision based on what you think I think about something.
I know this man, and I know that he doesn't like it when you make decisions for him.
Here's the thing.
Think you know him better.
Do you know why? Because 90% of the time, the problem is that will exist in a relationship from the woman thinking what the guy was is not true. So then, based on the fact, that you're saying, oh, because you were thinking like this, or you were going to do this, or I know that you, and all of that, if that's not true, then Why should I trust you to think for me in any
So
other
you
way?
don't trust a woman's brain. That's what it's coming down to.
No. Me personally, I don't want anybody to think for me.
Yeah.
Let's
Would
say,
you let your brother think for you?
No, I would let nobody think for me.
Okay, so that's fair then.
Even in the instance where, let's say, regime. Let's say I'm on holiday and I'm just going on holiday with my friends, and there's been a bereavement in the family, and like, oh, don't tell him until he's home because you'll ruin his holiday.
No.
Don't make decisions based on what you think. Just
That's
straight,
a great example.
let me deal with my stuff myself.
Yeah.
Yeah? Let me deal with my stuff myself.
Yeah.
Do not think for
That's
me.
micromanaging though, no?
Of course.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you're deciding what the best way for me to deal with something. Why are you making
That
decisions
probably
based on-
happens a lot,
Of
though.
course it does.
Yeah.
Look, it happens in families and saying, oh, I'll just tell her when she comes back because she'll be so stressed. You've decided that someone is so stressed with something because of the way they present it to you
Yeah.
that they can't take this level of stress and it will ruin anything. So just let them live and be Come
Me
off it, man.
personally, I hate control over other people's things. That stresses me out. Like to dabble into having control over
Do you know
other
what?
people's
This
situations.
is Pakistani cultural things through and through.
yeah,
Bro.
but I'm Pakistani and I don't
No,
play that.
no,
You know
but,
I hate that.
But you know, old school.
Yeah, yeah,
listen,
yeah.
there is a mad cultural control that Pakistani love to have. Yeah. That the head of the family, and it's normally like a nanny jan, or
Yeah,
not saying my nanny jan. I talk about
Yeah.
it, but I'm just talking about
The women in
certain
Pakistani
the
cultures, yeah.
women want to manipulate and control everything the way he thinks. Oh, you tell her this and you tell him that, to the point that even if there's something wrong, don't say this to her. You say this
Yeah.
sentence to her,
Yeah,
and then
we've
I'm gonna
heard
tell
that.
her. Come on, man.
Yeah.
What is this?
I find that very stressful.
I was a bit like, may Allah
I
rid
find
our people of that,
it's,
man.
It's stressful as in there are problems with it. One, you're micromanaging, but it's kind of in a very dark way. It's
course
very
it's dark.
controlling. It's not micromanaging sounds innocent and like, oh, I'm a bit OCD, I'm a
No,
bit
you're not. No,
micromanaging.
you're
No. Micromanaging is in you are being like the evil Disney villain trying to have control over things. That's the first thing about it. The second part of it, it's emasculating. You're making decisions for, like, that's the thing though. I'm talking as a woman. So as a woman, me making that decision for you, it would feel like I'm emasculating you because I am trying to control you and try and think for you like I'm above you. And not that you're above me, but you're the leader of our household to me. So I think it kind of breaches on the female and male roles in the household. Do you know what I mean?
That's what you do with your children.
Yeah.
Okay. Someone's died. Oh, I will make a decision now as to how my children receive this, in what way, when they do.
Because they're little children
Yeah.
that have not experienced anything,
Do you
and
understand?
it's your job to think for them as their parent.
And that's on you. But even things like, if you say someone's adopted, you raise them as your kid, and you're not told them they're adopted.
Yeah.
Even that is like,
Yeah.
do I tell them to or not?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So even with your own children, you can find things where you're like, I don't even know what the right thing
When
to
you're
do in that
breaching
situation.
on their rights,
Yeah,
basically.
but as equals in
Adults,
a
isn't
relationship,
it?
and
Adults.
adults, and don't try and control me and tell me what. Let me receive life the way I'm meant to receive it, and I will deal with it accordingly. Do not make decisions on my behalf, because you're incapable of making decisions on my behalf.
And as adults, though, both adults, the female and the male, should have the faculties to deal with the
course they
information.
should.
It's kind of embarrassing that you need the other person to control how you're drip fed information.
I hate it so much.
Do you know what I mean?
I hate it so
Yeah.
much. It gets me so mad.
That's very bad. But I think it's something that happens all the time.
It is bad relationship advice.
Bad relationship advice. If you can't handle me at my worst, you don't deserve me at my best. And I definitely reposted that one.
Bad relationship advice.
It's bad.
There is one way in which it is true, and there is one way in which it's actually the opposite way around. So the way in which it's true, if you can't handle the person, if you can't handle your wife after birth,
Yes.
yeah, once she's experienced things like miscarriage, when she's got a bereavement in the family, things like that, if you can't handle the relationship in that state, then you can't handle the relationship, then you don't deserve the relationship when she's 9 stone and in her best way, and all the family's relationships are healthy, and her cycles all
Can't weather the storms, basically, and weather
Yeah.
the harder seasons. You don't deserve to enjoy the fruits of the
100%,
summers.
100%. But at the same time,
That was so beautifully said. I feel like I didn't get enough
You're on
props.
fire today. You're on fire today. You know, it's today. I'm like, and you're just like, oh my God, I don't know what's happened.
Weathered the storms.
You switched roles today. I got like feminine energy inside me. Okay. No, why it's the opposite. If you can't handle me at my worst, then you don't deserve me at my best. That is BOLLOCKS. Yeah?
I had to really, really follow along with what that spelled.
I forgot how to spell it. Okay. If you, the person,
Yeah.
when you are at your worst, are incapable of being love
Yeah.
and being good to your spouse,
Right.
then you don't deserve the relationship with the other person. Then it's not that if I'm gonna be unhinged and I'm gonna be negative and I'm just gonna scream and shout and I'm gonna do whatever I like, and if you can't tolerate that, then you don't deserve the good me when I'm fit. No. When you've got a whole load of what
Stress
going on
and pressure going on.
and you are incapable of still being nice and still being pleasant, or still, you don't have to be your best
Be
version.
loving at
You
least,
can't be
yeah.
loving to your, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Then you don't deserve that person. So basically, this relationship can work if I'm in a good mood all the time. Only when things are good for me.
But it's also an excuse, though. I think it's an excuse to, you can unravel. It's that thing of mania. If you let yourself unravel and you let yourself be a crazy version of yourself, there's kind of no end to it. We can all do that. We can all let ourselves unhinge.
And that is what...
And just like, if you have the thing in your head with that person has to deal with it. Like, they're going to get the best version of me. When I'm feeling good, they can enjoy it. But they have to be able to take me unraveling like crazy, basically. And you allow yourself to do that. I'm not talking about having a bout of depression, actually going through something. When you have the expectation of yourself that I can fully let go and be crazy. And they have to take it. That's dangerous. Because you can do that easily. Like, especially as a woman, like, you can let yourself go to crazy places. But you shouldn't do that. Like, that's not healthy. Like,
you shouldn't.
I think that's abusive. You know, expecting somebody to take all the BS that you can dish out because you're going to be sweet to them as well. That's so messed up.
So let's change the saying. How do I change it? If you can't handle being nice when you're at your worst, then you don't deserve the other person at all. That's the new saying.
If you can't weather the storms of this life with me,
There we go, poet.
You should.
And she's
bugger
back.
Bugger off when summer comes around and let me live my best single life.
Yeah. You're happy with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Salam. Okay. That is our video on bad relationship advice. There's a lot of it going around. Please make sure that you drop some in the comments. Let us know some of the bad relationship advice you've heard. And also, which I'm sure some people do, if you disagree with any of the points that we made, we'd love the rebuttal.
Make sure you like and subscribe if you want to.
Yeah. And share the video
Go on, give it a share.
if you'd like.
Share some bad relationship advice. Go on.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.